Have you ever bought a game on a Sony system and then the next day it goes free on PlayStation Plus? Yeah, that's what happened with this, so that was money I didn't have to spend, but don't take that negatively.
I'm very frugal when it comes to buying video games. I rarely buy a game on release day, and I rarely pay full price, and I buy used games more than new. It's not that I don't want to buy new or pay full price, but I've been burned on bad games or games where I didn't feel that I got my money's worth. So if I can save money, I'll save money. The last two games I paid $60 for was Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, which was the first PS4 game I bought, and Super Mario 3D World, both games I got shortly after their release. So you could probably understand that I was a little miffed to buy Strider in June, only for it to be announced free on PlayStation Plus for July. That's what's getting annoying about services like PlayStation Plus, Games with Gold, and others like Humble Bundle, as there's games you want to play, but you don't know when it'll be part of those services where you can get it either at a discount or for free. So with services like that, you tend to sit on the fence debating if you want to buy the game or not. But the good thing about those services is if you hate the company that put the game out, you can wait until it's free, so that way your money isn't going to them.
And that's why I'm glad Fez is free this month, because I don't want to pay for it, and Phil Fish is a prick and will never get a cent of my money.
Now, in my Street Fighter Cross Mega Man review, I kinda bashed Capcom a bit for spamming Street Fighter or their zombie games while ignoring their other games like Mega Man and Strider. Someone brought up that they don't ignore Strider and use this game as an example, which is actually a bad example to use, as before this game there was Strider 2 from 1999, so there's a 15-year gap between this game and the one before it. In that gap, Strider only appeared in the Marvel vs. Capcom games and the Namco Cross Capcom strategy RPGs. Development for this Strider started before 2009 by the Swedish developer known as Grin, but they went bankrupt in 2009. Development shifted to Double Helix, who are known for Silent Hill Homecoming as their first game and having a hand in the recent Killer Instinct game, but are infamously known for the movie tie-in game Battleship. Capcom surveyed their forums and saw that a lot of people wanted a new Strider game, and they wanted a new game to be less linear, and they wanted Strider to gain new moves, which is a good thing because when you do these nostalgia trip games, you need to do more than just make it a graphically updated version of the original.
Unless you're Nintendo, who gets away with that all the time, which is why Hyrule Warriors intrigues me so much and will actually be the first Zelda game I ever own. Yeah, I've never owned a Zelda game and I've always borrowed them from friends.
The version that I'm playing is the one on the PlayStation 4, so yeah, this is my first review of a PS4 game. Graphically it's good, but it's not good for a PS4 title when the camera zooms in during cutscenes. You can see texture pixelation on the character models. To me, that says that this is more of a port of the PS3 or 360 versions, and considering that the game came out 4 months after PS4's launch, that's not an entirely incorrect assumption, given that it takes time to get and learn the development kits, and it just may be easier to port an already working game over to a new system. The music is what I can only describe as new age retro. It sounds like it could be on a cartridge-based system, but it's more evolved and it's very electronic sounding. And the boss theme is really awesome. I suggest you give it a listen. I've played the first Strider, but I don't really remember it. But I do remember Strider 2's gameplay, but I don't remember the music from that game. The music in this game fits the entire setting, which is someplace in Russia, or somewhere in that area. The music sounds cold, desolate, and mechanical.
The game has this air of hopelessness in the atmosphere. You get to hear the propaganda, and you can actually feel the oppression of an iron fist.
The game is a platform game. It may look like a hack and slash, but the hacking and slashing you see is too basic, as your usual hack and slash relies more on stylish combos similar to Devil May Cry and Bayonetta. When the game starts off, you can only jump and slash, but there's a system of progression. As you defeat bosses, you gain new abilities like a double jump or the ability to reflect bullets. And you can get certain things called options. One of them is satellite orbs that surround you and they can be fired in multiple directions. There's an energy meter that you get when you get your first option and it recharges slowly. However, there are upgrades you can get. There's 10 health and energy upgrades that you can find to increase those 2 bars, and they're hidden about the levels. There's 5 energy recharging upgrades so that way your energy recharges faster. And there's other little things to grab like concept art and even additional costumes for Strider. The levels are designed for and encourage you to explore and find every nook and cranny because there's so much to discover.
It's very much a Metroidvania game, so you're gonna have to go in with a different mindset because the previous Strider games were a lot more straightforward. And you know, It's kind of funny when you think about it. Some games get praised for doing something different, while certain games of a certain series will get criticized for doing something different.
The controls are decent enough. I say that because Strider is just overly sensitive to the analog stick. When running, if your thumb angles the analog stick downward just ever so slightly, Strider will start slashing downward. I'm not sure if it's the game being oversensitive or the controller itself being sensitive. It's just slightly annoying for it to be that sensitive. And it's not just with slashing your sword. Aiming with your kunais is overly sensitive as well, and without some kind of aiming reticule, you're mostly just guessing where you're aiming. Luckily, 3 shoot out in a fan in front of you, so you don't need to be as accurate as you may think. Another thing that leads me to believe that the controls are sensitive is when using the teleport, as when you aim it, it doesn't quite stay where you want it to be, fluctuating slightly or going to far extremes when you slightly move the analog stick. I found that quick button presses without thinking or taking time alleviates this to a degree. So there's times where you have to think like a ninja, have the reflexes of a ninja, and the training of a ninja.
Don't let my prodigious girth fool you. I was trained by the one and only Haru, also known as the Beverly Hills Ninja.
The game isn't too difficult. In fact, it's quite easy. All the enemies go down with a couple of slashes, and when you get the ability to charge and reflect enemy fire with your sword, the game becomes a cakewalk, and becomes even easier with the more abilities you get, and even easier if you take time to collect health and energy upgrades. And there's also health replenishments galore. The boss battles are pretty epic, but are easy. Some may give you a difficult time at the start, but once you figure out their patterns and their telegraphs, you'll have no problem taking them out. And the only regular enemies I had a slight problem with were the acid-spitting zombie enemies. And you encounter those in the sewers briefly, and they need a lot of hits and hit pretty hard. So some may find this game a challenge, others may not. The story continues what they call the core Strider story, where Strider, and I'm probably pronouncing this wrong, Hiru, is going after Grandmaster, and I'm probably pronouncing this wrong too, Mio, again. It's a pretty esoteric story, as to get what's going on, you have to have knowledge of the Strider lore, which I do not have. The cutscenes, what little they are, could use more work, as it consists mostly of the characters standing or fidgeting about, and the characters don't have any facial expressions, and their mouths don't even move.
I know it's a $15 digital title, but come on. Some effort in the presentation would be nice.
Speaking of being a $15 digital title, this game is long. It's about 9 hours, and that's story alone. And if you take time to explore and grab all the upgrades and unlockables, you're looking at a game at least 15 hours long. I'm glad to have gotten more than my money's worth, and yes, Metroidvania games are supposed to be a long adventure with lots of backtracking. So if you're expecting a short game like the Strider arcade games, you're just not going to get it. So if you plan to play this game, get comfortable because you're going to be there for a while. If you're a Strider fan, you should definitely buy this game. Or if you've got the itch for a Metroidvania game, it won't disappoint you. Or if you just love platform games, it'll sit nice in your collection. But don't expect a major leap in gaming innovation or anything new, as this game is more of a love letter to Strider fans, and inadvertently Metroidvania fans with its level design and upgrades.
This game is a very niche title, and only certain gamers will get enjoyment out of it, but for what it is, it's good and you should have fun with it.